We're going to talk a little bit about the quilt barn and what's involved and what we do and so forth. There's always a lot of questions that we get down in the quilt barn. So I'm going to go over a little bit of what happens down there. We bring in anywhere from over 1,000 to 1,500 quilts depending on the year. So any given festival we could have that many pieces hanging there, quilts of all sizes. And so it is quite the display, and it is a sale. It is not a quilt show, it is a sale. We have been ranked, as Dr. Donner may have mentioned, we have been ranked as a festival at the top of USA Today's poll for festivals in the country, and we're at number 2, which is not a bad place to be considering the entire country and how big it is and how many events take place throughout. So very proud to hold that distinction, and I think the quilt barn is a large part of that. So I like to think so. So we have a lot of quilts. It is for sale. That's always a question. People don't always understand what it means. So what it means is we have anywhere from 80 to 100 quilters every summer bring their quilts into the barn with the intent of selling them. So what we do is put out information in February. I ask them to register their quilts no later than April 1, and I create a schedule for them to bring their quilts into the barn the second week in June. And we have a full week of registration with, this year I have 22 employees, staff members down at the barn. And we facilitate that registration process. And it's quite detailed, and it takes a lot of time. During that registration process, if there's quilts that really catch our eye as being super special, something of interest, over and above, you name it, the workmanship is beyond spectacular. We put them aside and put them on a table to hold for the following week when we have our judging. I have a team of 5 to 6 judges every summer that come to review the quilts and to just evaluate them. The way we do that, and by the way, I should say we end up with about 30 to 50 quilts in that pile. That's how many we evaluate. And to evaluate that, our team of judges uses a rubric, and the entire thing is done without a name. We don't know whose quilt it is. We don't put our names on that. It's all done with points and point totals. So after we complete a rubric for each of these quilts, the largest total of points is what is used to determine the winners. So our winners are a grand prize, which is $500 over and above the sale of the quilt. We have a first prize, which is $350 over the price of the quilt. We have a second prize, which is $250, a third prize, which is $150, and then we have 20 top honors quilts, which each get $100 over the sale price of the quilt. Those are the quilts when you walk into the quilt barn that are hanging. If you're walking in the front door, they are hanging at the far end, very high, that are lit up with the lights, and then also along the sides. So anything that's hanging up high in the quilt barn, those are the prize-winning quilts. Those 24 prize-winning quilts go to auction this coming Saturday, the 6th, promptly at noon. The other quilts in the barn remain for sale. The only ones that get auctioned are the ones that are hanging up high, which are the prize winners for this year. When you go into the barn and you walk in the door and you get to the one end, there is a group of ladies sitting there who are quilting on a large quilt on a frame. And the very first quilt that they complete during the week, and they have already completed it, is deemed to be our benefit quilt. So at the behest of the director of that part of the program, It is a benefit quilt to raise funds for that particular charity. And so that quilt is now completed, the binding is on, and that is also now hanging around at the top of the building. The first quilt to be auctioned on Saturday will be that benefit quilt. The first quilt is always the benefit quilt, and then we go into the 24 others. The auction is a live auction. You can register to participate by coming early that day and doing so on site. You can also pre-register to participate by doing that online. And if you do pre-register, all you have to do is take your confirmation and go to pick up your bidder number, and then you can take your seat. If you are not going to be around for the auction but would like to bid on a quilt or quilts, you can register a silent bid, and that's a very easy process. I can facilitate it in the quilt barn if you are on site and would like me to take care of that for you, or you can go online and do that yourself. It's a very easy walkthrough process. It is not an interactive auction. You need to either be on site or the silent bid. You bid your highest bid, the highest amount that you would like to pay for that quilt, and then that's it. But there's no back and forth online or through video or anything like that. Anyway, it's a very exciting event. If you haven't been there, you should try and get there at some point. It's one of the highlights of the festival, and certainly for us at the Quilt Barn.